Is Dustin Poirier too easy an opponent for Islam Makhachev? And is Paulo Costa even going to turn up for UFC 302? Before we get into that, if you're new here, make sure you subscribe as we have brand new videos every single week. So, Mark, Islam Makhachev is going to be defending the lightweight title finally against another lightweight in Dustin Poirier. Do you think, though, that Islam is just going to run through Dustin?
I did, but honestly, I do feel like Dustin might have something up his sleeve. I think this is going to feel very much like the first Islam and Volkanovski fight. You know, that kind of weird, ominous feeling of, I think he could well pull something out of the bag. He's aware of the takedown threat. He's aware that Islam has some serious power when he wants to use it. And as long as he doesn't just try jumping the gilly, I believe that he's got a good shot here. What do you think? Do you think it's just going to be an absolute battering?
It seems that way, doesn't it? It seems the writing's on the wall for Dustin. We've seen him fight high-level grapplers with decent striking in Khabib, in Oliveira, and we saw how that played out. And I think Islam Makhachev is just too relentless. But we have seen Islam falter. We have seen him be dropped by Islam, not by Islam, by Volk. We've seen him be literally finished. So, he's not invincible in that same way that Khabib was, right? And Dustin is powerful. He's got some great knockout power, and he could catch Islam quite easily, to be honest. So you never know. It seems unlikely, but it could happen. But Mac, do you think Dustin Poirier even deserves this title shot?
Yeah, give it to him. Come on, like he's coming off a win over what we're in number 12, Benoit Saint Denis.
Yeah.
Before that, he got knocked out by Justin Gaethje, but Dustin's one of those, probably just for how consistent he has been throughout his entire career. He's one of those, you could probably put him in a title picture whenever, and it would make sense.
Yeah.
He's got the notoriety, he's got the finishes. Dustin Poirier's resume is one of the most impressive in UFC history. It's ridiculous, and he stayed at that level. He might have, faltered, got knocked out, maybe even got finished, by Khabib, like we've said, but he's always come back. And it's great to see. I think he deserves it. Surely all them years of continuous, success means something. I can tell by the grin on your face, Dwayne, you're thinking otherwise. So I'm keen to hear what you think here.
No, to be honest, I think you're right. I think it's a case of right place, right time, isn't it? Ideally, it should have been Arman. Arman beat Charles Oliveira, and he should have got that title shot, but Arman turned it down. I think the big problem is the UFC keep booking the lightweight fights at the wrong time. It's like Charles Oliveira was supposed to fight. Charles Oliveira beat Benil, and then he was supposed to get another title shot, and he didn't because it all messed up and all the timeline was wrong. And now it's the same for Arman. But Dustin Poirier got a win. He's ready. He's available. Why not, right? There's literally no other viable option, really. Literally, I can't think of any other lightweight, apart from, of course, Conor McGregor. But no, literally, jokes aside, Dustin Poirier is the only viable option, isn't he, for this shot at the title, right?
Well, I'm just glad to see that Islam defending his lightweight title against a lightweight now, if I'm honest. But you look at this, it's funny how you mention Arman and Charles Oliveira there. Charles Oliveira got injured in what was supposed to be Islam v. Charles 2. Volk stepped up. Charles then took a fight against Arman, and he got beat by a ball hair.
Yeah.
So you think, have you just pissed away potentially one of your last shots here? Probably. You can't help being injured, but at the same time, make room for Arman now. So this lightweight division, I'm glad to see it get shook up personally.
Yeah.
And while we've still got Dustin Poirier, I don't want to say the same old faces, but while you've still got that face, he's always in the top 5 somewhere looming around, isn't he? This makes sense. We've not seen this fight before. It's not a rematch. It's a fantastic test for Dustin and for Islam. If Islam can get through Dustin Poirier, the 13 or 14 fight win streak, whatever he's on, all that is absolutely solidified. No one can call him lucky. No one can say that he didn't fight the best in the world, because Dustin Poirier, whatever stage in his career, is one of the best lightweights in the world, no matter if you love or hate him.
100%. He's one of the absolute best lightweights of all time. I mean, he's always second place, but still, he's the second best. But the same as you, though, I like that this lightweight division's getting shook up a little bit, in that sense of we always had Dustin up there Justin Gagey, Charles Oliveira, and it seemed like they were stopping everyone from coming up. And then Dustin is the only one who managed to stay at the top of that old guard by getting rid of Benoit Saint Denis. Max Holloway got rid of Justin Gagey with a masterclass performance. I'd love to see Max versus Islam one day. And then, of course, our man took out Charles Oliveira. Even though it was a close fight, we're now getting these new contenders in the lightweight division. And I genuinely can't wait to see where this division goes, because it's the premier division of the UFC, isn't it? It's the premier division of combat sports.
Has been for a long time as well, hasn't
Yeah.
it? It faltered a little bit, before, especially when Khabib was champion, and just after that, the mess. You made a point before that no one has actually won the belt, taken it off someone since Conor beat Eddie Alvarez.
That's why he's
Since
the
then,
number one lightweight of all time. Conor McGregor, the last guy to beat the champion. What a guy.
well, his last two performances, we'll see how that one goes.
Yeah,
But,
we'll see.
but in that respect, cast your minds back if any, someone can't remember in this sense. Even with Charles and Justin, don't forget he lost it. He had to forfeit the belt because he was half a pound overweight.
Yeah.
It all makes perfect sense. So if Dustin can do it, it's a small feat, but it's still, you are the first to beat the lightweight champion since 2016, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. So he could get it done. And I'm kind of rooting for him in that sense of, like, it'll just be, what a moment that'll be, right? We're sat there, 6 o'clock in the morning, our eyes barely open, and Dustin Poirier knocks out Islam Makhachev. I mean, that's a moment for the history books, isn't it? That's a moment we'll remember forever. But in reality, he's just going to get choked out in the second, and we'll go back to bed.
Rear naked choke. Are you willing to gamble?
Yeah, definitely. That's what I'm going to put on my bet. Definitely. That's definitely what I'm doing. But Mike, with Dustin though, do you think this is his last chance? This is his final chance at the gold. If he loses here, no more.
Yeah, I believe so. You've got to look at not his age, because I don't really believe on shutting the door on fighters when they're still in the prime and they're still doing it ridiculously well. But you've got to look at, make way. There is other people there. And with Islam at the helm, I don't believe there's going to be another shot in the near future for him at all. If he does lose this, I don't know, like retirement. I'm not saying I want him to retire at all, like I said, but you'd hear his speech and you go, fair enough, makes sense.
No.
I think this is going to be his absolute last opportunity to make himself number one for a change, rather than the interim champion or a runner-up.
Yeah,
and I do not mean that in a disrespectful way at all, because like we've said, I'm a Dustin nut hugger. I get that, that anxiety feeling whenever he's fighting. I wish he'd stop doing all this though. Every time he's fighting, just focus. You're against Islam Makhachev, stop pulling your shorts up, getting one of them little ball vaginas that he's doing. Just fight. Anyway, do you think it's his last chance? I'll move swiftly on.
Well, let's move on to let's move quickly away from Dustin Poirier's ball vagina, as you've aptly put it. I honestly don't know. I thought it was Dustin's last chance when he lost to Khabib. I thought it was Dustin's last chance when he lost to Oliveira. I thought it was Dustin's last chance when he lost to Justin Gagey. He will not go away. He is that shit you cannot flush. He is there to stay. So even if he loses to Islam, in 2-3 fights, we could see him back up for a title shot. He's that good, right? He is just so good. So we could see him back there again quite easily, I think.
It would make sense either way, though, wouldn't it? Like if Dustin's fighting for a title shot in 2 years' time, you just go, okay, yeah, probably deserves it. Even if you didn't even tune in for UFC anymore, you just go, okay, yeah, he's probably paid his dues, because he's just consistently there, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
Hard to believe that Michael Johnson has knocked him out.
Yeah, Michael Johnson reminds him every chance he gets.
Michael Johnson's now, like we've said before, that guy in the bar, isn't he? I beat him once.
Yeah.
Sure you did, Magic. Let's get you another drink.
Now, Matt, let's move away from Dustin's ball vagina and on to the co-main event. We have Sean Strickland versus Paulo Costa. But Sean has recently said on his Twitter or his Instagram, I don't know, one of his social media pages, that Paulo Costa has not signed the contract. And this fight's, 2 weeks away? Are you concerned that Paulo Costa is not going to turn up for this event?
Well, regardless of contract signing, whenever Paulo Costa's fighting, I don't get excited until he's in the cage anyway. we've said this before, he's the Charles Oliveira of the middleweight division. You don't know if he's actually going to fight until he's in the cage.
Yeah.
When he does, it's great. He's fantastic and he's exciting because he's so powerful. But at the same time, these contract negotiations, I don't know how you feel, Dwayne, but it's the kind of politics before a fight, isn't it? You know, and all this, you know, if the fight does take place, we'll forget this instantly. It's been so far apparently booked. And don't forget, this is Sean Strickland. It's hardly a credible source, is it? You
Yeah,
know,
exactly. You know, he'll say anything, won't he? And that's the
yeah.
thing. And I don't want to talk too much about fighter pay because I don't know anything about it. I really don't, and I'm not even going to pretend I do. But you can see why these fighters push so hard now against these contracts and say, "Look, I want more money to fight," because there's becoming more and more viable options. Like, don't forget, Mike Perry was making what 12 and 12 in the UFC, and now he's getting paid 2 million to fight at Bare Knuckle FC. Do you know what I mean? So it's like Paulo Costa could go somewhere like that. He could go fight Jake Paul or Logan Paul or another YouTuber, you know, whoever,
Mhm.
and get paid shitloads of money. So if these sort of opportunities are there available, and Dana White's offering you, you know, 100 grand to get battered, you think, oh, I'm not going to do it. So you see why they're so not willing to sign these fights, right?
It is fair enough. And but then you again, we won't get into it too much. Maybe that's for another video in the future. But at the same time, you go, well, yeah, but Paulo Costa, let's take him as an example. Lost his last fight. His
Yeah.
last win was against a knackered Luke Rockhold at Elevation. You know, he
Yeah.
got beat by Marvin Vettori before that. Got beat by Adesanya before that. He's, you know, like, okay, you get what you're overestimating your worth, but at the same time, again, I don't know what he's getting paid, and it's not up to me to determine whether he
No.
deserves it or not. But imagine if he does beat Sean Strickland, whose last fight was for the title, puts him right in line for the title picture. So you
Yeah.
think you get through this, surely solidify yourself, get one more title shot there, Costa, because he flumped his last one, did he? Did nothing.
Totally messed it up. And that's the thing, isn't it? With this sort of middleweight division, it feels as though the title is up for grabs at all times, doesn't it? It feels like anyone can move forward and get that title shot, especially when, you know, it's looking like we're going to have Izzy versus DDP and Hamzat versus Robert Whittaker for the title shot. I mean, who knows if Hamzat's ever going to fight again? You never know, do you? So if you can show good performance, you could get a title shot quite easily. And sort of on that topic, you know, we have the former champion Sean Strickland. If he defeats Paulo Costa, do you think that puts him right in line for a title shot again?
On paper, it makes sense. You'd think so, wouldn't you? When you think, well, your last fight was for the title in a razor close fight, I might add, with
Mm.
DDP. So you'd like to believe that he can just get skyrocketed there. But don't forget, we've got certain broken native Israel Adesanya just waiting there. He is in the caliber where he can get a title shot whenever he wants.
100%.
Surely, even after his last piss poor performance against Sean Strickland, he could just step in at any time. Sean, if he does beat Paulo Costa, I don't know if his next fight will be for the title. I don't know if
Mm.
it should be, but he's almost getting into that name value where you could just pluck him out and say, give Sean another shot.
Yeah,
Do you
could
think he
do.
deserves it, or do you think it was just a flash in the pan and that's it? We'll forget about him now.
Well, he didn't deserve his first title shot, did he? But he showed that he does. You know, he got
Mm.
the job done. He put on an excellent performance. But I think, unfortunately, I think Strickland is a flash in the pan. And whether I think he deserves it or not doesn't matter. The person that he has to get the title shot is from Dana White. And I don't think Dana and the UFC are interested in pushing Sean Strickland. I think I don't think they like him. I don't think they're interested in him. I don't think he puts the bums on seats that he thinks he does because, you know, Sean Strickland's audience definitely illegally stream the UFC. You know, they do not pay his fan base and not paying for pay-per-views, right? Definitely not. So he's not a marketable star. They're not interested in him, and I don't think we'll see him in that title picture again, unfortunately. Which is a crap reason for it, but I don't think we will.
I think that with Sean Strickland, you're probably right in the sense that they probably didn't want him as champion, but it was the only viable option back in September when he beat Israel. But at the same time, you go, well, the things that he said, we're not going to get into this a lot, but
No.
the things that he said, they aren't even that controversial. It's just this day and age and that kind of thing. You know, like, as soon as Sean drops one of his hands and he says, here's the thing, guys. You're like, oh, here we go. This is going to be a meme. Here we go. But don't forget, though, he's given us some golden moments with that unhinged attitude as well. No man who beats off to cartoons is going to beat me. That is etched in my mind. I absolutely love that one.
The classic line, classic, isn't it? So good. But Mark, with the rest of this card, the main and the co-main are a lot of fun. We've got people like Kevin Holland on here, Jolton Almeida, Randy Brown on the main card. But do you think outside of the main and co-main, this card's a little lackluster?
It's lacking a little bit, isn't it? I mean, there's a good few, like you say, you've just named the names that I am interested in for this card. It is lacking that can't wait to watch this entire card element.
Right?
Yeah, but it's quite top heavy, and it almost feels like you're getting half an event. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah.
Rather than like, when you get steadily thrown into it when there's no such thing as steadily, you know what I mean? First fight on the main card, bang, here you go. And we're
Mm.
still looming after UFC 298, 9, and 300 as well.
Yeah.
301 was dogger. But 302, we're getting there, and you know what the next card is after this as well. So
Of course I do. Of course I do.
warming up. Oh yeah, Dwayne, you've just about blown off in your pocket there, aren't you?
I already have. But yeah, it's feeling like 302 and 303 feel like boxing cards, don't they? It feels like these are main event cards. Like, I'm not really bothered, to be honest. And call me a casual, do whatever you want, but Randy Brown ain't getting me up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Like we said before, I think if I was in a better time zone, if I was on American time zone, yeah, sure, great. But come on, we've got to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning for Randy Brown. Come on, it's just
Yeah.
not appealing, is it? It's not good enough.
I mean, it doesn't really matter when people call each other casuals and stuff. They say that as if like it's the most negative thing, like, oh, you filthy mudblood. You're like, what? Who cares? You're like, all right, I'm a casual because I don't want to ruin my bloody Sunday and
What's
watch
that?
every single fight.
You're a married man and a full-time job, and you don't want to ruin your entire sleep pattern to watch Randy Brown fight. Oh, what a loser!
I know, yeah. Thing is though, like you say, like when I were in a better time zone just last year, I could watch all these, and it was great because I caught a lot of up and coming stars, even at the fight night cards in the Apex.
Mm,
It's great, but it is time consuming.
it really
That's
is.
why the breakout stars, in the sense of we are getting Islam and Dustin, we are getting Sean Strickland and Paulo Costa. We know their names for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. That's isn't it. They're the guys who put bums on seat. They're the fights that are going to keep us interested. Well, like we said before, though, it's not necessarily the UFC's fault. Well, I guess it is, but this first half of the year has been so stacked, like incredibly stacked. So you can see now that they are going to have these little lackluster cards that still have great main events. Like
Mm.
as if I'm calling Islam and Dustin and Connor versus Chandler lackluster cards. They're mega cards, obviously, but the rest of them aren't as interesting, are they? And even though the card is lackluster, these are two of the biggest lightweight stars on the planet, and it is going to be an absolute banger of a main event. Thank you everyone for watching. If you can like, comment, and subscribe, it really does help us out.